fires have been started.
These truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
Walked in this place and said, wow, this is a huge dome. Bozeman's got it all right.
Stage 2.
Go.
Flight directors, go for launch. We have liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Execute.
Vehicles supersonic. Diesel.
You guys know what this represents? Maybe just the calm before the storm.
Left stormy.
The calm before the storm. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Give us a hint in your answers.
Thank you, everybody.
You'll find out, and it looks like we're going to find out real soon. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode number 82 of Just Take. Plan this right. 82 on the eve of the inaugural. That doesn't really mean anything, but I thought it would sound funny. It sounded in my head. Hey, Dave, how are you tonight? I bet you're as excited as I am.
I am very excited. Hey, I don't know if it's me or you. It's a little bit digital. It sounds like
Great.
fewer lost words on my end.
You are lost words. Having a great time. That's wonderful. Both of our hats look great. Thanks, Pat. How are you? Listen, Dave, we got a boatload of things to cover.
Yes.
I don't believe that there is a two quick themes and out. I think that we've got a whole bunch of stuff we're going to be nailing, and
Yes.
it's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree. And I'm so excited. Today it's a long wait to get to today. And good on you, Trump, for having a victory rally today so that tomorrow's you can get right to work, right? Get the inauguration piece done, swear on the Bibles, and then get straight to work signing, I don't know, anywhere between 50 and 200, who knows how many executive orders undoing the damage that's been done to our country in this just the last little bit. But I think today we got to talk about it. I mean, it was a blast. Only thing could have made it better is if we were there in person.
So how bad am I sounding? Pat likes your background, Dave. I love it too.
Thank you. I thank you. You know what? I wish I could remember who I stole it from because I want to give them credit. I think it's awesome, but thank you. Glad you like it too.
All right. I'm going to play just a clip from today's amazing show. This was some fun that Kid Rock had. I hope you guys are not offended. There may be a Kid Rock piece of language or two in this, but this was from today's victory rally. Kid Rock, or Bob, as Donald Trump calls it. There you go.
Hello, everyone. I love you all. I know you're having a great time at the Kid Rock concert tonight. Quite frankly, he's amazing. All of you in attendance are the true backbone of our great country. Hardworking, God-fearing, rock and roll patriots. Bob is truly one of the greatest entertainers of our time. Let's all continue to love one another, fight for our God-given freedoms, and most of all, let's make America rock, 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 rock. Let's make America rock again.
We the people, in all we do, reserve the right to scream, screw you! Haters, haters. Wear your mask, take your pills, now a whole generation's mentally ill. Haters, haters. But COVID's near, it's coming to town. We gotta act quick, shut our borders down. Joe Biden does, the media embraces. Big Doc doesn't, and they call him racist. We the people. Let's go, Brandon. We the people. Let's go, Brandon. We the people. Let's go, Brandon. We the people. Standing up and standing tall. Cause it's all for one. And it's one for all. All. We the people. Inflation's up like the minimum wage, but that BS is about to change. Check the stats, stop throwing stones, and straighten up, sucker, cause daddy's home. But we gotta keep fighting for our right to be free, and every human being doesn't have to agree. We all bleed red, brother, listen to me. It's time for love and unity. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Standing up
man, that was just such a great portion of the show. I have to tell you, he did 4 songs, and all 4 of them had as much energy. And boy, to be 54 years old and have energy like that, I don't know, Dave. Doesn't seem fair, does it? Are you muted?
I am muted. That's because I'm singing along, and I don't want anyone out there to go, God, Kid Rock sounds bad, because that would be my voice overriding his. You know what? He is just so phenomenal. You think about over the last 4 years, he's been such a supporter, and every time people tried to, oh, what are you doing? You need to stop that, or else what? And he has been on the side of the American people every single day. And this is what there could not be a more fitting opening to today's victory rally.
Yeah, it was great. And he did open it up. Like I said, he rocked 4 songs. There was a lot of fun in him as well. He didn't do just the standard fare, although he did end with Ball with the Ball. You know that song? Da bang, da dang, digga, 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 said boogie, step up to boogie. Sorry, just had to show off my mad skills there on the Kid Rock action. But I probably have 100 pounds on that guy.
Now, funny, I think when he was on Fox and Friends, they asked him about what was he said, I really planned everything out to the last minute, and I was going to have like strippers and poles and I don't know, a bunch of other fireworks. And they told me I couldn't, Secret Service said I couldn't do any of those things. And Trump asked him later, he said, did you really have all that planned? No, not at all. It was just messing around. What a sense of humor. Oh.
Yeah. So so it was a shortened Trump rally. So Trump came on. He spoke for almost an hour, probably a little bit, maybe 45 minutes. It was what you'd expect. He kind of talked about some of those things that have happened over the last 4 years. He talked about what is going to happen. He did say that he's going to be signing more executive orders than anybody has ever signed. It's going to be amazing. But it's funny. We talked about this during the show. Donald Trump was never a fan of executive orders. In fact, I think if he had his druthers, he would remove the ability to do executive orders. But it's the game he plays in right now, and half of the executive orders he's going to sign tomorrow are going to be to delete the executive orders of Joe.
Yeah, it's the fact. I remember back when Obama was president, and I was thinking, if you have to, the only way you can get things done is through executive order. That means you do not have influence over Congress and the Senate. You don't have any influence, and this is the only way you can get things done. And it's kind of like what a dictator does, right? I'm going to dictate now the laws. And I agree, Trump was actually outspoken against doing executive orders, but you're right. Those are the tools. So they're the only tools that are available, and you got to use them because, by the way, Biden was still writing, or he had a pen in his hand and an executive order in front of him up until I think yesterday. Of course,
what's the over under? What's the over under on executive orders for tomorrow?
See, I'm going to say there's 100 of them. It's anywhere from 50 to 200 is what I've been reading. So I'm going to guess somewhere close to 100. And by the end of the day, his hand's going to probably
give me a number, and then we'll ask L tomorrow. Give me a number, and we'll write it down.
91.
Dave says 91. And it's closest to without going over, right?
Closest to without going over. Well, how about we just say closest to, within 5%? Because
well, trust me, my guess is not going to be within 5% of yours.
Oh, okay, then you might just win. I mean,
I'm saying 197.
Okay, 197. What did I say? 91.
You said 91.
All right. Anybody else want to throw a number in chat?
Hey.
Let us know.
The folks at home, what do you guys got? We can write it down too. But I'm thinking 197. And I was telling David earlier, Pat says 105.
105. Okay.
105. So I was telling David earlier that, how sometimes they do these ceremonial where they're going to write down each letter with a pen. There's not enough pens in Washington for tomorrow.
It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be amazing. Isn't that what
Yeah.
Elon said?
So I have a video here. We can jump right in. I want to show you this one. So Steve Bannon, I don't know if you guys follow Steve Bannon at all, but Steve Bannon, he's an interesting fellow, but he was on with I don't remember this guy's name. He was supposed to be on with Snuffleupagus. Roger says 50.
50.
Roger,
Right.
I think you're way low. But
Roger's on.
that's why we're writing them down.
That's right.
Okay. So anyway, he was on, and not Jake Tapper. But anyway, he had some interesting things to say. Let's just go ahead and run with this one.
He's going to go out there. It's the second inaugural. You were an architect of the first inaugural, which was American carnage and a condemnation of everybody that was around him on that stage. Is he going to do it again? Is this American Carnage 2.0? Because I'm hearing he's not. I'm hearing this is a very different tone.
No. Bring the country together, unify the country.
What does Steve Bannon think of that?
I think it's very appropriate for this. Look at the coalition we put together and what happened on 5 November, right? Look, I realize I'm, always on the attack, but he's president of the United States. He won this victory. He has a big coalition to pull together, and I think he's going to try to unify the country around a course of action that we have to take. I think he'll lay out the challenges, and he'll lay out the beginning in some sort of 60,000 foot level, what his policies and proposals are, but I think it'll all be about unifying the country and going forward together.
So does that mean all that talk of retribution is never mind?
President Trump has said, and I think in response to you, that his idea of retribution is peace and prosperity, is security in a new golden age.
So prosecuting his enemies, going after the January 6th committee, going after the prosecutors that went after him, Mark Milley, all that stuff's, forget about that?
I didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
It is that people are conflating revenge with justice. People cheated. They broke the law. They routinely lied. They gaslit. What's the right word for it? The people of America and the people of the world, for that matter. They took advantage of people.
But Bannon says that Trump won't go after those folks. That's not who he's going after. If they broke the law, that's what he's going to go after. If they broke the law or committed treason,
yeah,
that's who he's going after. And I have to show you something that I found today. And do you know who Catherine Herridge is?
Yeah.
So Catherine Herridge, she used to be with CBS, and she was a great investigative reporter. I mean, not good, and she was down the middle too. She was not one that you would say, she's a hack or whatever. No, she was right down the middle, and she would always play it straight. She would always play it clear. And I'm going to show you something that she posted today. This came up today. She's standing out in front of Camp Justice, Guantanamo Bay, and she says, "Stay tuned." The other thing is she has been deeply involved in what some would say some of the Q posts. Now, the Q posts are much more like an intel, and I don't mean she's written them. She's been involved in that. She knows what they're about, and she translates some of them. The other thing is she's been very ahead of the curve on a lot of the justice that has been coming and that has been coming along the way. She was one of the first people that said that Donald Trump was going to be releasing Epstein and Diddy files, and that would be one of his early priorities. So I just find it interesting that we just have a conversation about retribution and revenge. And I think that Pat nails it. That's exactly what I think people were asking about, accountability.
Yeah, accountability. You cannot do this over and over again and just get away with it. Otherwise, you have set a precedence that is so dangerous. He did not create the Democrats' hate. He exposed it. He did not create the media's bias. He exposed it. He did not create a corrupt FBI, CIA, and DOJ. And I'm not saying they're corrupt, so don't come knock at my door at 3 a.m. But he might have exposed some potential corruption there. He did not create the deep state or DC swamp, but he exposed it. He did not create the corruption in both political parties, both political parties, but he exposed it. And I think that this is the part that people get frustrated about. I mean, he's telling you you're being lied to. They're stealing from you. By the way, if you don't think anything's been stolen from you, you don't understand how inflation has been stealing your wealth, or the taxes that you've paid have gone someplace else, but not to improve your life. So it's wrong. And he's exposing it.
Roger, I don't know if you watched the event today, but Donald Trump did hint at 99.9% of the J6ers are going to be pardoned.
That's
on
right.
Day one. On day one. So that would be tomorrow. So I think that you're going to be happy about that. I think I will. There are some people that deserve to be in jail. Look, I don't care what side you were on. If you broke a window or did damage to the Capitol, well, then you need to pay for that. Now, should it be a 30-year sentence of solitary confinement? Come on. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But,
and by the way, yeah, let's remember that. Yeah, I agree with you, by the way. But I also want to say then, it's got to be fair. The justice needs to be fair and equal, and it's not. There are people that burn.
There are people that have sat in solitary confinement without ever being charged, and they sat there for over a year. There have been people. There's a guy who lost his eye because he was beaten so severely by guards, and this was supposed to be for a misdemeanor crime of trespassing.
Right. How do you make that up to him?
All right. Let me jump into another Bannon video real quick.
You have the following that is the kind of ground troops of the MAGA movement.
Some, not all, but we have a because people come to us for the information on the show.
So what do they want? What do they want? What do they
want? President Trump is what they want, and
they
got him.
What if he fails? What if he fails to deliver?
He's not going to fail to deliver. Is everything going to be perfect as the far right thinks it? No, it's not, and I never pretended it is. I do have a theory based on Thomas Kuhn's The Structure of Scientific Revolutions about paradigm shifts. If you shift the paradigm, eventually they're going to debate on your turf. And right now, I think if you see the hearings of the cabinet officials and see these ideas coming out, America First ideas, right? Populist ideas, populist nationalist ideas. We've shifted that paradigm.
There was no pushback from the old Republican Party, and you would argue not much of a pushback from the Democrats.
Jonathan, I'm shocked. I thought there'd be Republicans on the panel that were asking hard questions. I thought Democrats would be going nuts, and really from a policy perspective, I sat there. I think I saw the end of both the Democratic Party as it exists and the husk of the Republican Party as McConnell and Paul Ryan hoped.
So when Trump comes up there and gives the second inaugural, you say it's not going to be American carnage again.
I think President Trump will go through how we got here, where we're going, what his plan is to lead us and to bring us together. He's a unifying figure right now because think about it. This coalition, and that's why he has a difficult job. He has the oligarchs that have surrendered. Right now,
Bezos, Zuckerberg,
the oligarchs, all of them, but and also the crypto guys. It's a whole ecosystem. Yeah. You have that. You have working class African Americans. You have South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley. People that are now prepared not just to stop voting for Democrats, but to vote for him. He's got kind of the hard right, the MAGA. He's now got financiers. He's got corporatists. He has to hold. His thing is to hold that coalition together. But if you had to have somebody to do it, he's the guy to do it. That's why he is at the level of Washington and Lincoln. And this will be known. And when history's written, Elon Musk, Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Jonathan Karl will all be washed away and forgotten in the footnotes. They'll know two things. And Pelosi will be washed away, Schumer, they'll know two things. Trump and the MAGA movement.
How about that? Trump and the MAGA movement will be what is remembered. I want to say one thing that came from and one of his most emphatic statements today from the rally, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "By the time the sun sets tomorrow, the invasion on the southern border will be over." It couldn't have been more clear. By the time the sun sets, the invasion on the southern border will be over. I have to tell you, as someone who used to live in Southern California, and I know you did as well, and watching all of these videos, and David, early on the Just Our Take show, we were covering live footage of these people crossing the border. I cannot be happier that that is a number one priority for him. And that's, by the way, one of the main reasons he got elected.
Yeah, I was going to share this, but I'll just read it. Tom Holman says, "Leave now." And there are some videos, by the way, of migrants unmigrating. What do they call it when they go the other direction? They're migrating back.
Self-deporting.
They're self-deporting. So Tom says, if we deport you and go through formal deportation, a formal deportation process, you get actual deportation order. It's not the most elegant speaker, and he is being quoted exactly. You got a 20-year bar, which means you can't apply for a work visa, a tourist visa. If you have a U.S. citizen child, they can't even petition for you. So leave the country under your own free will. Don't get a deportation order. And you can apply for work visas. You can apply for a visitor visa. If you have relatives that can petition for that, that can happen. But if you don't leave on your own, we have to formally remove you. You got a 20-year bar. That's the message we need to get out there right away to the people. That's a direct quote from Tom.
That's awesome. You know, one of the first cities they were going to hit was Chicago. The plan was to go in there and just do a gigantic sweep. They've changed that plan because the details of the plan were leaked. Again, why are these people hating our country so much that they would leak operational plans? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, actually, well, it does make sense. It makes perfect sense. Why would they do it? They would do it because they are trying to thwart the process. They're trying to thwart. It's a gravity issue, but they're trying to fight it in every step of the way. This video is,
it doesn't make sense that you would hate your country so much that you would do things that would cause your own demise.
Listen, I agree with you there. I think people have lost their mind. It's not just Trump derangement syndrome. They're literally they're in a cult. I was accused of being in a cult. By the way, you're in that Trump cult. It doesn't feel like I'm in a cult, but those of you who blindly follow and just close your eyes and ears and brain, that feels like you're in a cult. This video, you may have seen it, but basically muted a little bit because it's got a strange music behind it. But those are ICE vehicles being delivered.
Nice.
And so there's vehicles there was several other videos of images like this where you have multiple vehicles and people being deployed to certain areas to start executing deportation orders as early as tomorrow, which I don't know, or maybe it's Tuesday because tomorrow's pretty aggressive. He's got to sign all his orders first.
So I think it can't happen soon enough, but Holman has said over and over again, Holman has said very clearly that he is going to start the deportations tomorrow. He said on day one. So I have to believe him that there are probably already some things in place that would allow the deportation, which probably talks about the plans. And I'm sure that I was in the military for a number of years, and one of the main things that I did was computer wargaming, and we did wargaming and strategy sessions. And one of the things that was very important was we had the plan, the backup plan, the backup to the backup, and then I can't say the word, but there was another plan in case everything broke loose.
Yeah, and just also a reminder, he said over and over again, although this will be lost in all the noise, we're starting with the criminals. We're starting with, I'll get it wrong, Tren de Agua, am I saying it right? We're going to start with those people that were taking over apartment buildings, that are taking over some of the migrant centers where people are, in New York, it was discovered, right? Here are people in there that are sheltering and receiving food while they try to figure out what to do in the U.S. And meanwhile, the Venezuelan gang said, oh, well, we know exactly how to put you to work for us in the U.S. Those people are going first, but it doesn't necessarily mean that others won't get caught up. And that's one of the biggest concerns from some of the mayors that are pushing back. But you know what? At the end of the day, my heart goes out to you if you're just like me, you're just trying to make your way through life. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that are here right now that have done things that are unconscionable. And it is going to happen. So this is JD Vance. He's being asked about it, about some of the things we could expect to hear in the media and from the left.
To our humanitarian activists and others who are worried about these deportations, saying families are going to be separated, people are going to be put in tents and in terrible conditions. They have real concerns about the way you plan to actually mete out those things you're planning to do.
Yeah, so this term is something you're going to hear a lot in the next couple of months, the next couple of years, Shannon. Family separation. I think it's important. That's a euphemism. That is a dishonest term to hide behind the fact that Joe Biden has not done border enforcement. If you say, for example, in the United States, we have a guy who's convicted of a violent crime and has to go to prison. We want that guy to go to prison. But yes, it does mean that that guy is going to be separated from his family. That is the consequence of committing violence upon your fellow citizens. If you come into this country illegally, you need to go back home. You need to have basic law enforcement. And what the Democrats are going to do is they're going to hide behind this. They're going to say that this is all about compassion for families.
To our humanitarian.
I don't disagree with them. I think that they're going to do everything they can to try to put pressure on the Trump administration to back off. I don't think Trump's going to back off. You know, he's been through this already. He's got a pretty thick skin. And, you know, I think if you look at what his overall mission is, his mission is to make America great, safe, free, rich, all those things. And you can't do that with these evil people coming in here trying to tear us down and destroy us. The other thing, and we talked about this a while back, David, but I'm going to touch base on it again. One of the things that's happening with all of these sanctuary cities is they're taking those monies that belong to the taxpayers, and they're claiming that that money is going to these illegals. However, a lot of that is getting laundered into their own friends' pockets. So you own a clinic, and now we're going to give you $7,000 for each and every, what do you call it? Checkup that you do for somebody. You give someone a checkup that you would normally charge an insurance company $135. We're going to pay you $7,000 for it, and that's been uncovered lately too. How do we thank our donors? That's how we thank our donors.
That's how we thank them. It's fraud. It's outright fraud. By the way, Stephen Miller did share, so we heard him speak today too. By the way, he was phenomenal.
He was on fire.
He was on fire. Before we end, I have to play the Megyn Kelly clip because she said some stuff tonight that I loved. I was shocked to hear her talk about J-Lo and Oprah, but I got to play that at some point. But anyway, Stephen Miller, I have this clip from him. He was asked, how do you handle the border? And I just thought this was he broke this down in a way that I thought, you know, if you just follow the logic, it just makes sense. Here, let him talk.
Well, as I say sometimes, the immigration issue is extremely simple. The policies involved in fixing it are very complicated. The simple part is seal the border, deport all the illegals. Now, that's the short answer, right? You get in, you have two policy objectives that you proceed with utter determination on. Seal the border, no illegals in, everyone here goes out. That's very straightforward. In terms of the policy sets to accomplish this, as President Trump showed in his first term, it's a series of interlocking domestic and foreign policies to accomplish this goal. In no particular order, to rattle off a few fast, you have your Safe Third agreements, you have Remain in Mexico, finish the wall, you have robust prosecutions of illegal aliens, you do interior repatriation flights to Mexico and not back to the north of Mexico. It's very important. You re-implement Title 42. You have several muscular 212Fs. That's the travel ban authority. We did a few of those in the Trump administration. You would bring those back and add new ones on top of that. You would establish large-scale staging grounds for removal flights. So you grab illegal immigrants and then you move them to the staging grounds, and that's where the planes are waiting for federal law enforcement to then move those illegals home. You deputize the National Guard to carry out immigration enforcement, and then you also deploy the military to the southern border, not just with a mission to observe, but with an impedance and denial mission. In other words, you reassert the fundamental constitutional principle that you don't have a right to enter into our sovereign territory, to even request the asylum claim. The military has the right to establish a fortress position on the border and to say no one can cross here at all.
That's good. That's really good.
I mean, he just breaks it down. And that's it. I mean, it's not simple. You can't just close the door and call it done. Clearly, there's a lot of work. The flip side of that is, and I think this is the part that's kind of exciting, is we do want immigrants, right? Trump has said, you finish your college degree here, we'll get you a green card. We want people to who are invested in the country, and I don't necessarily mean they invested financially, but ultimately they will provide a financial investment too. But invested in the country, who want to be here, want to help promote the country. We want those people here, and I think that's a side of him that the news leaves out all the time. And the news will leave out, especially over the next, several months, because all we're going to see is families and kids crying, and we're not going to know the stories behind that. It's just going to be, Trump.
I say we hear from a Cuban immigrant, or the family, the son of a Cuban immigrant, and our least favorite news person ever, Kristen Walker.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Has said he's willing to build migrant detention camps and deploy the U.S. military to deport the more than 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country. It would be the largest deportation operation in American history. Do you support that plan?
11 million. That's an outdated. That was the number 10 years ago. We're talking upwards of 20, 25, maybe 30 million. Well, there's been almost 10 million people that have entered this country unlawfully in the last 3 years.
The question, would you support it?
The number varies big time. I mean, it's another 9 to 10 million people just in the last 3 years. The answer to your question is yes. We cannot absorb 25, 30 million people who entered this country illegally. They're here illegally. What country on earth would tolerate that? We don't even know who most of these people are. They talk about vetting them with what? They're coming from nations that don't even have document systems in many cases. Yes, we are going to have to do something. Unfortunately, we're going to have to do something dramatic to remove people from this country that are here illegally, especially people we know nothing about. But 10 million, 11 million, that was the number 15 years ago. Today, it's upwards of probably 25 to 30 million, maybe more.
Senator, here's what you said about Donald Trump's mass deportations proposals in 2016. Take a look.
I don't think it's reasonable to say you're going to round up and deport 11 million people. I don't think it's a plan that works.
I don't think that's a realistic policy.
So why have you changed your mind now?
Because the issue has completely changed. When I said that back in 2013, when I was involved in immigration reform, we had 11, 12 million people that had been here for longer than a decade. Now we've had almost that number in the last 3 years alone from all over the world, including people that I believe are terrorists, people that I believe are going to conduct terrorist attacks in this country if given the opportunity, certainly people that were criminals in their home country. This is a completely different, this is not immigration. You asked me about immigration. This is mass migration. Mass migration. This is an invasion of the country. And it needs to be dealt with dramatically. And by the way, I'm a big poll follower, but polls show most Americans agree with us on this.
I love the fact that he creates the distinction. This is not mass immigration. That's really important. The fact is, and he nailed it. He did. He came right out and said, it's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about people that are coming here for a better life. I'm sure that there are those people too. There are mostly people are invading our country, and they're here to take and not help. They're not here to grow and better themselves. And again, I'm generalizing. I get it. There are those others in there, but if you look at the Trump said it, I hate to follow along with this one, but he did say there's some bad hombres in there, and he wasn't just speaking about the Hispanic folks. So and we know that it's been very well documented that there are people from countries throughout the Middle East. We know that there are folks that have come in from China. There are folks from Central America, but that's to be expected, I think. When you stop and you think about the fact that there were people that were on the terror watch list that were stopped at the border, and there are others that probably slipped through, because we know that lots of the caravans that came in, people were self-identifying and there was no way to know who's who. Imagine who's in the country today. So he's right on. I love how he answered that question. I love how he stood up. He's probably going to be the first to be confirmed. And I think, as much as I was a little bit concerned at first, I think he's going to be a real strong Secretary of State. Hey, without getting too hung up just on the immigration piece, because there's going to be a lot of fireworks tomorrow, both figuratively and literally. However, Donald Trump gave us some fireworks today at the victory rally. Check this out. This one makes me, and I bet Roger's going to like this one too. So perk up, Roger.
Step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
How about that?
Somebody encase that man in something that withstands. I mean, first off, I love it. I love the courage. I love that he says, I'm promising you this is what I'm going to do. America's been wanting to know the truth for a long time. We may not like it when we hear it. In fact, it may cause us to, heave, but we need to hear it. And I hope that I hope there's enough people that can keep him safe long enough for him to actually release the truth.
I'm right there with you. I would hate for anything to happen. We are, we're right there on the precipice. However, I see you got something queued up, but this one might be.
Oh, go ahead. I'm just when the time comes, there's a lot of other things that Trump's promised to do.
So we talked about this, and I had some ideas about why they were moving the event indoors, and I think it has less to do with the weather and more to do with safety. Yeah, I thought you would like that one, Roger. Yeah, you know what? And by the way, Kash Patel talks about that in his Government Gangsters book. He talks about that's how they hide the secrets that would make them look bad, is by overclassifying things. Oh, it's classified. You can't talk about it. So I love the fact that they're going to go back through and appropriately classify things that should not be. Okay, so I'm going to toss this one out here. My thoughts on why they are moving the inaugural inside is, I think it's all around safety. I think it's less about the weather and more about safety. But here's you remember back when Butler happened and Donald Trump, he had the ear thing and all that. There was the guy who made the prophecy. He said he saw a vision, and in his vision, he saw a bullet whiz past Donald Trump's ear, went so close that it burst his eardrum, and he was bleeding from the ear. He fell to the ground and started worshiping God. He stood up, and when he stood up, he was a changed man. So that was his prophecy. That prophecy came in March of last year, 2024. And then we all know what happened several months later. The same guy has another prophecy. Now, again, I don't know. He got remarkably close the first time. I don't know if this is a prophecy or he misses his 15 minutes of fame, but it's worth giving it a quick listen. We won't listen to the whole thing.
Happened in Oklahoma City was big. This was like so much more,
Okay, I'm just going to say something. I know this is really bad, but if he didn't look like Uncle Fester, I could take him more seriously.
Okay, you said it. I was thinking it, but I didn't want to say it because it sounds so bad.
I'm sorry. Here we go.
Yeah,
especially with that look right there. Just give him a light bulb.
Huge 9/11 type event, y'all. And so, but it wasn't just one. The Lord showed me that it was over 1,000 men, and there was 10 major cities. There was 10 cities, the Lord told me. And so all the cities were had a target of like a Trump tower or a Trump golf course or something that, was important of our, our heritage. Like the Statue of Liberty was a target. And I thought, why the Statue of Liberty? It doesn't have a lot of people around it, but it represents freedom. It represents something that's important to us. And so I saw them go in and they try to take that out. I saw over what's the gardens over? I'm sorry, son. The Madison Square Garden. Yeah. I saw them attacking that. I saw them attacking Chicago. I saw them attacking Houston area, Dallas area. I saw them trying to attack Oklahoma City. LA, Seattle. There was a lot of cities.
All right. So he goes on and on. That I will leave a clip, a link to that clip in the show notes. What he talks about happening, though, is he actually talks about, oops, I meant to remove that. What he talks about happening is like the Oklahoma City bombing, where they used fertilizer to create bombs, fertilizer and some other supplies. The fertilizer being ammonium nitrate. There was a train car filled with ammonium nitrate, and when it got to its destination, it went from Wyoming to California. When it got to its destination, it was empty, and there were no official stops along the way. So the question is, where did that ammonium nitrate go? And that's part of what his prophecy is, that they're going to be loading this up into dump trucks or other large trucks, as well as some smaller vans, and then detonate these in several places. Again, is it his 15 minutes of fame? I don't know. But I believe that the weather, I'm watching the updates on the weather. They were originally saying it was going to be 0 degrees with 50 mile an hour winds. They're not saying that anymore. They're saying in the 20s. And if you look at the last inaugural, it was 28 degrees, 28 for Obama's. I mean, there's been cold days. It's January in DC. So I think that moving it inside is an extraordinary move, and I think that they did it because of safety. Just my take.
Yeah, my take too. And I've read a number of people, chicken, he's afraid, and it's too cold. And there's so many protesters outside, because there were, I don't know. I saw images that made it look like there were hundreds of millions, hundreds of thousands of people. Okay.
There's 300 million people there.
Exactly. That's, the pictures would make you think like a whole nation of people is out there protesting. And so it's because he didn't want to face the protesters. And I'm thinking, because you really can't, you just don't have nearly as much control outside. And right now, especially when you say things like he said about releasing who killed whom and the secrets, and you are a target. There are people out there who have worked their entire lives, their whole careers, to keep those things secret, because when the time comes and we find out, it's gonna shake our faith in some of our country about how we've been led for the last, I don't know how many years, a few decades. And it's gonna shatter some people. I will just say, I think some people are just gonna, we think the left is losing it now. When the truth comes out, I think some people will lose it.
John's take. It seems like you agree with me. I'm going to do a real quick commercial, David, because we haven't done it yet, and I just want to thank our primary sponsor. There we go. Our primary sponsor, Steel Rebel Design. Steel Rebel Design, Kim and Company over at Steel Rebel Design. They make all of our hats, shirts, hoodies, cups, mugs, you name it, they do it. We have some really cool ones too. We have the new Snow MAGA hat. This is Snow Camel. I say that every time. Snow Camo MAGA hat. I love this design. This one was one that Kim came up to me and she says, I kind of like this. What do you think? And I'm like, do it. David and I are each wearing the regular dark MAGA hat right now. We have we have a Trump hat that we can get you, and they all have just our take on the back of them. The shirts and hoodies and caps, we have two of the shirts. We have one of them is let me bring this one up for a minute. This is the classic. That's the classic, just our take. And then we also have the Fight MAGA. That was the one that David and I wore to the Trump rally here in Bozeman, Montana. Listen, we would love to get you one of these. And if you would go down to the link below, you can find the link, and it says merch, and then take you right to the Steel Rebel Design store. You can go ahead and buy one there. Or here's a more fun way to get one. Actually, I don't want you to wait. I want you to get one, and then you can win one as well. Here's how you win it. If you give us your email address, we're going to send you your very own personalized. Well, it's personalized because there's only going to be one with yours. There's only going to be one. That's going to be your MAGA arrest bingo card. Who gets arrested first? As you can see, the free space is Diddy, because he's already been arrested. All you have to do is make an up, down, side to side, or diagonal. As soon as you do, you let us know, and we verify that against the document that we already have, because we have copies of everybody's bingo card. And then you get to choose the first four. That's 4 people. The first 4 people that turn in a winning card, they get to choose between a hat, a hoodie, a cup, or a mug. So, I'm sorry. We'll also do a hat. One of the two. You get one, either a hat or a mug or a hoodie or a cup. There you go. So, how do you get it, Dave?
Well, you will, as soon as you're arrested, you will make the little exit and send it in.
How do they get their card? How do they get their card?
Oh, are you saying send us your email address?
Send us your email address to
Send us your email
justourtakeshow@gmail.com. Send us an email to justourtakeshow@gmail.com and you can get your very own bingo card. Thank you again to Steel Rebel Design for sponsoring the Just Our Take show.
I thought you were asking me a different question, but now I'm on board. Yes. By the way, I love this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I love this game and I get it because eventually, if you wait long enough, our hope is that that entire sheet is blacked out. And how many total different names that only carries what, 25 names per
That has
card,
25 names. I put a total of 50 names in the pool, and then we put it through a randomizer. So everybody's card is individual. There's no 2 cards the same. And yeah. Hey, I want to run through really quickly just a couple of the things that he hit that were fire today. So he said that Steve Jobs from Apple gave him a call this week and said that Steve Jobs is going to make a major investment in America. I can't imagine that he would be saying major if it was just a little, hey, we're going to open up a new store. I mean, something tells me he's probably going to be moving some manufacturing back.
Did you say
talked
Steve
about
Jobs?
Steve Jobs. I didn't say Steve Jobs. I meant Steve Jobs called him on the bat phone. You know, he's got that bat phone ability.
So Apple called Tim, whatever his name is.
Tim Cook, just like Steve Jobs, but different.
Except
He doesn't have hair, but okay, they're going to build the Iron Dome missile defense system over America,
which we've seen tested over and over again in Israel, and it seems to work.
Hey, by the way, Donald Trump posted a video during his rally, and it talked about the military under Biden and the military under Trump. And
you got to show it. You got to show it.
I don't have it, but I will get it for the next show. I'll get it for the next show because it was unbelievably hilarious. Okay, we already talked about him releasing the documents. TikTok, it went away and it came back. And when it came back, it came up on the screen. Thank you, Donald Trump, for helping to negotiate this. So they're giving full credit to Donald Trump. If you go on to X and you read any of the messages from the folks on X, they'll say, well, he banned it in the first place. I did hear somebody say, this is communism. And I had to laugh. It's communism that they took TikTok away. Well, it's not really communism that they took TikTok away. It's communism, the owner of TikTok.
Yeah, at least. Yeah. Hey, by the way, just since we're on TikTok just for a second here, I thought this was brilliant. And you could say it's extortion because that was the second thought that went through my head. The first one, brilliant. Second one, extortion. But anyways, going back to brilliant for a minute, he says, I would like the United States to have a 50% ownership position in a joint venture. By doing this, we save TikTok, keep it in good hands, and allow it to stay up. Without U.S. approval, there is no TikTok. With our approval, it's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions. Therefore, my initial thought is a joint venture between the current owners and or the new owners, whereby the U.S. gets a 50% ownership in a joint venture. Now, you know, that's outside the box, outside the universe thinking. And I get it. The US government shouldn't be involved in too many private businesses, but also we've got $36 trillion worth of debt. So imagine if you could stroke off a few trillions and also save a pretty healthy company. It's 179 million users. I don't know. That doesn't seem so crazy to me at this point.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I saw a lot of people overnight absolutely flipping out. I mean, these people, you would think it was a teenager and you took their cell phone away from them. But there are people realistically that make a living off of TikTok. I watched one guy, he's in his 40s. He makes about $57,000 a year. It's a modest living. It's a healthy living for him. and it's all on TikTok. So for him to have TikTok shut down overnight, that's rough. You and I both know an employee at TikTok, and for that to have been closed down is a bad thing too. I want to show you those. This is how bad it can get in some places. A 19-year-old set fire to a congressman's office overnight. And he said the reason he did it is because they banned TikTok and they can't do that. So yeah, these people. So I want to say something else. I saw somebody talk about how horrible they were mocking the people that, say, I'm sorry, let me go back. All these people that got their TikToks shut down or banned or whatever. It's kind of like these are the same people that were mocking the people that lost their YouTube account or their Twitter account. They were mocking them, saying, yeah, well, that's how it goes, buddy. Well, how did it feel? And I have to tell you, it reminded me of this. First, they came for the communists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the trade unions, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. The bottom line, this is not obviously, the extermination of the Jews, and I don't mean to try to put it in the same sentence, but the fact is, if they take a little bit of time, eventually they do come for you.
Same concept. And we've seen it over and over again. We saw it during the COVID era when people were losing rights and restrictions. And some people were saying, that's right. If you haven't had the mRNA shot, you should not be allowed to fly on an airplane in the US. Like, wow. Okay. So your point, but what happens if later down the road, there's some other thing that you object to, that they say you've got to denounce your religious beliefs or denounce, something else, or you can't fly? What then? So, you've got to be thoughtful about how far do you want to go to remove people's rights. So I agree with you, John. It's not a poem. I don't know what you'd call that, but it is. I think
it was
profound.
Classified as a poem, but either way, it's poignant. That's for sure.
Poignant. Hey, do you want to hear RFK Jr.'s thoughts on TikTok?
I'd love to.
Okay, now I'm going to bring him up.
We've got a Congress now that is saying they're going to do a patriotic deed by getting rid of TikTok. So TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, and the Chinese are probably using it to find what American teenage girls are putting on their hair and stuff, and really scary stuff. And Congress is flexing its muscles. Well, you know what? There's a whole generation of kids for which TikTok is an entryway business, and it's employing hundreds of thousands of people. And these are kids that don't have that many options anymore because we've created a world like that for them. And now we're getting rid of TikTok because we say it's being used by spies. Well, guess what? So is Facebook, but it's the CIA instead of Chinese spies. But and so is Instagram and YouTube and Google and
Right.
Wow.
There you go. You better get some Secret Service detail around that man too.
You can find on the internet the story of DARPA was creating a program under the auspices of the CIA, and the program was supposed to be able to find a way to get information and track every single American in the United States. And they put together this program, and then they scuttled the program. On the very same day they scuttled the program, Facebook was launched. I don't know. You do the math.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is RFK, he calls it out. He just says it. So there you go. Now, we talked earlier, so I won't drain this, but there's reasons why I pulled it off my phone and stopped using it. And that's because when the user agreement updated and it was asking for some stuff, I'm like, I don't even know why you need all of this. I just want to enjoy the short videos that keep me occupied while I'm waiting in a line somewhere. But no, you can't have my fingerprints. You can't have my Face ID. And I don't know why you need the keystrokes on my phone. Now, I'm sure that all of that was probably not for any nefarious reasons. I don't know, but I stopped using it. Now, TikTok today, it's huge, and RFK calls it out. So many people have built businesses there, and they're thriving. How exciting is that? So
Let me tell you something. So when I was in the military, I had a classification that taught me an awful lot of things about how things work. And we had to go through classes and get updates all the time on, the things that are being done and spycraft and all that crap. One of the things, and I'm certain this isn't classified anymore, but one of the things that they used to do was they would, like a building that I worked in had 18 inches of cement with 2-inch on center rebar, and then a gap, a 2-foot air gap, and then another 18-inch with 2-inch on center rebar. And in between that air gap, they would play music. And I thought, well, so because they didn't want to hear us talking. And one of the guys said, I can't even tell you what his job was, but anyway, one of the guys told me, no, it's not your talking. The metal would pretty much muffle a lot of that. What they're listening for is typing. You're like, what? Typing. They can figure out by the cadence of your typing what you're typing.
Yeah.
And this was back in the 90s. So by the cadence of your typing, they could figure out what your keystrokes were and what exactly it was that you were typing out. I want to go back to what you said about the terms and services, terms of service on the TikTok. I looked at the terms and service and I was like, well, this is innocuous, no big deal. It's nothing different. I actually read through that whole thing. And then I saw, gosh, there's like 8 different hyperlinks in there. So I started clicking on the hyperlinks and digging down. You dig down like 3 layers and it says, we will be collecting your voice print. We will be collecting the cadence of your voice. We will be collecting, like you said, your keystrokes, not just where you go, but any contacts that you make. So if I'm around you, David, they know that you're around me. I mean, there are so many things that they do just bad.
Which, by the way, for anyone who thinks that last part can't happen, that is exactly how some of the COVID apps were supposed to work, right? That if you could tell if it rolled out, it was supposed to roll out, you could tell if the people around you were still in the green or not. Like you would get a notification.
Contact tracing, right?
Contact tracing. And by the way, before that, there's also the same kind of technology was used so that if you're in a bar and your friends are in the bar, you're like, oh, my friends are here too, right? Because it'll tell you. So if anyone thinks like, well, that sounds too far-fetched. Nope, it's actually been used for quite a bit.
So bringing it back home. Bringing it back home. One of the things that Trump said originally when he wanted to ban it, did say that in fact, no military personnel or government personnel could have it on their phones when Trump was in office.
That's right.
And the reason was because all of those reasons we're telling you about. And one of the things that Trump has said most recently is if they remove those things, and it was more along the lines of what some of the other people were doing, then we could have a deal. But the fact that you're taking all this information and sending it back to the Chinese Communist Party, that ain't cool. We're not doing it. So one more thing. So here's a friend of yours, not a friend, but one that I know that you love dearly. I do as well. And this, I think, kind of tells the future of where we're headed. Since his victory, Argentinian President Javier Milei has fired 5,000 government employees, eliminated 380,000 government regulations, eliminated 12 of 21 cabinet posts, opened up the oil industry, shut down the Ministry of Gender and Diversity.
He shut down way more than just one. I had a whole list earlier. He shut down like at least 12 or 13 of these massive ministries meaning just, it's a group, right? It's not a religious ministry.
Yeah, kind of like our it would probably be similar to our EPA, which, by the way, he did have an EPA that he took out.
He shut down, he cleaned house, and their government is, it's a fraction of the size of our governments. But he gutted it. And oddly enough, here we are, not even, what is it, a year and a half later, his country's beginning to thrive, which is pretty exciting. It's not perfect, but it's definitely
tax
on
cuts,
its way.
and they have a surplus. So
Right. 95% tax cuts is what he's talking about, which is incredible. So if you're there, you had hyperinflation before. He comes to power. He makes all of these changes. You still have some inflation for persistence of about 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months. And then all of a sudden now the real economy starts to grow, not the government created economy, but people who are opening their own businesses or the companies that are there are starting to produce more. And the real economy is beginning to grow. And now Argentina is starting to emerge. Amazing.
So another thing that Trump said today, he talked about different people that were in different cabinet posts, and Linda McMahon is going to be the Secretary of Education, Secretary of the Department of Education. And his comment today was, Linda, if you do a great job, you're going to work yourself right out of a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Read between the lines, folks. Read between the lines. The Department of Education is going away.
Which it needs to. I mean, think about what's one of the largest unions in the country is education union, and they don't just lean to that left. They are a money source for the cabal, and they are not helping. You know, we've learned a lot about how people learn. We've learned a lot about how people learn, and the current process we use today is not the most effective, best way for young people to learn, but we're afraid to move away from it because there's way too many people who are too invested in it. But it's time to blow it up, just kill it. Stop it.
Thank you. Be careful.
It's time.
If you weren't with us earlier today, we were doing the live stream of the Trump rally, the victory rally, and we actually, for the first time ever, we got kicked off YouTube in the middle of the stream. So yeah, we're trying to be a little bit more careful, but not. I mean, look, if they take us out, we still got Rumble.
Good.
One of our viewers got kicked off Rumble today, and we're not really sure what happened there, but they tried to get back on and they couldn't. So kind of has me a little bit concerned. They certainly didn't say or do anything during our stream that would have got us to be disappointed or upset or frustrated with them. So whatever happened, it wasn't initiated from us. Not sure what happened.
I'm gonna conspiracy theorist in me is gonna say the cable company didn't like the fact that we were talking about the inauguration or the victory rally today. Hey John, there's a little smattering of others day one actions that we believe are going to happen.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so just a couple. We've already talked about deportation. We talked a little bit about pardoning the J6 hostages. I mean, wrongfully imprisoned people. The terminate Biden's orders on energy drilling restrictions, and that needs to happen fast. Return federal workers to in-person work. You want to talk about something that's going to cause a tidal wave of angst and these people and they're forcing me to. You know what? No one forced you to work from, well, they did force you to work from home, but that was a couple of years ago. Guess what? You got to actually work now. You got to come back. And if you were working all along, then we might not be forcing you back to work. But I think that's going to cause a number of people to resign on their own. And those that were working and probably would work, they'll probably come into the office and they'll probably still do a great job. But pause all offshore wind leases. And I know you're much better versed in the windmill type of energy than I am. But as I was starting to study it a little bit more and more lately, I've become less and less enthusiastic about windmills. And in fact, I think the only people that are doing well from windmills are the windmill manufacturing and installation folks. And DEI hiring practices in the federal government. Like hire the best, most talented people you can find. And if you want a diverse group of people, great. By the way, I embrace that. Then go to the universities, go to the communities where you will find greater diversity. Interview there. You will probably find top quality talent of all genders. Did I just say that? Of all ethnicities, of any gender. You can find it. You just need to maybe get away from your office and go out to the communities and you can find people, but no longer hiring based on some characteristic. Instead, hire somebody based on on their ability to get the job done. Okay, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord, shocking. Order every agency to remove all federal actions that are increasing costs for the Americans via deregulation, which you talked about, Melee, for a second ago. So I'm excited for that. Suspend, this one's a big one, but I love this one. Suspend security clearances for the 51 officials who lied about the Hunter Biden 2020 laptop story.
Amen. Amen.
And I love that because these people lied. And now some of them are trying to go back and go, no, I didn't lie. I never said that it was a 1-to-1. I said it looked like there could be something here from Russia. I didn't say it was Russia.
You signed a document. The document was really clear. So I'm sorry, boy, get in the back. And by the way, not Steve Bannon. Now it totally just lost sync. I know that all of those cronies of the intel departments, the evil intel departments that are going to go away and are going to get cleaned up, all of those people, it would be borderline treason what they did. Certainly election interference, if not a coup. So I would be surprised if they don't get to find themselves in a brand new orange jumpsuit with 3 squares and a cot
at the YMCA. Anyways, let's see. I do have a couple quick ones, more bullets here. Hiring freeze. I think that's a good idea. Don't hire anybody else unless you know exactly what positions you're hiring for. Otherwise, it needs to pause. Tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Now, I don't know if this happens day one. I think this is going to happen fairly quickly. But the gist here is Mexico, you're turning the corner. Accept the people that are coming back your way. Close the border and actually help us out here. Help stop the migrant caravans. We need to stop the trafficking of fentanyl across the border, and you owe it to yourselves, and you owe it to us to start participating in controlling the drug trade that's coming across the border. Excuse me. With Canada, by the way, most people don't think about this because the Canadian border feels kind of innocuous, and plus, it's cold and it's way up there. But we actually have illegal immigration that's coming across that border, and drug trafficking into the U.S. from Canada as well. So that needs to stop.
Let me stop you there for 1 second. Canada has been a hub for immigration from Iran and China for a very long time. And that is especially over in the BC area. So I would absolutely say it's time to tighten up those borders as well. By the way, go try to sneak into the Canadian border. See how that works out for you.
The first time I drove across, they're asking me the simple questions. Why are you here? How long are you going to be here? And then they started asking, do you know why? Do you know we want to search a car? Do you know what we're searching for? Like, no.
Donuts?
Yeah, donuts. No, I mean, it's just, I said, I'm going to guess you're looking for something illegal like drugs or weapons. Do you have any drugs or weapons? I'm like, no. So I don't care if you search my car. I mean, but it was a moment, right? That's Border Patrol. And, anyways, I respect the fact that they got a process, and I gave myself plenty of time to go through whatever process was, and it was fine. They're right. Okay, a couple quick ones and I'll pause. End the war in Ukraine. I mentioned that, which we've all heard. We'll see how that plays out. Roll back environmental policies. No more Green New Deal. And sorry, AOC, because I know you're the first one who brought that up. No more Green New Deal. That's the short list.
The fact is, the Supreme Court ruled on that earlier this year. There haven't been any actions taken, although I don't know if you saw this. I'm going to call it another Trump effect. But I think earlier, maybe a month or two ago, we heard that California, using the Environmental Protection Act, had deemed that by 2030, it would be illegal to sell an internal combustion or diesel engine inside the state of California. Well, they've dropped that request. They dropped that request. Yeah. How about that?
No kidding. Wow.
Thanks, Donald. Hey, I have to tell you, I kind of sound a little bit silly about this, but I got a little emotional today before the rally, just thinking about how close we came. And Speaker Johnson had a sit down, and he was talking about some things that he found out. And this came from producer Marie. She sent me this clip, and she was quite angry, and I don't blame her, because this should have been disclosed a long time ago. But I'm going to let this one play out. It's a little bit longer clip, but the details are important. So I'm going to go ahead and send this one.
It's a good
and
one.
thank you, producer Marie.
And play. I'm gonna fire Scott. He's so fired.
Now the worst part is it was playing on my end. Let me take it off the stage and put it back on the stage. And play. Oh. You know what?
Hold on.
Personal
There you
animus at all. I mean, in some ways, I actually kind of feel sorry for Joe Biden. I mean, he's in the twilight years of his life. He is not, obviously, has not been in charge for some time. And I know this by personal observation, and now the whole world knows it. And it's been very, very concerning to me over the last, year and a half since I've had this
Can you
position.
tell us a story when you say personal observation? What
Well, I
kind
mean,
of thing did you see?
it's public now because the Wall Street Journal got it and put it on the front page. But January a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I had been asked. I became speaker in October 2023, and there were all sorts of big national security concerns and everything going on. And I started requesting a meeting with the president because, I'm kind of old school. I'm a constitutional law guy. Speaker of the House should be able to talk to the president, especially in times of great national interest and calamity. But they wouldn't let me meet with him, and his staff kept giving me excuses. This went on for like 8 or 9 weeks. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, he doesn't have time. What are you talking about? I'm second in line of the presidency. He has time. I need to talk to him. We had, I can't say the classified parts, but we had some big national concerns at the time that I was losing sleep over. Finally, I just went to the Hill press corps and I said, the president is not being allowed to meet with the speaker. There's a problem. So they started putting pressure on him. Long story short, they finally relented. They invited me to the White House. I show up and I realize it's actually an ambush because it's not just me and the president. It's also Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem, the CIA director, everybody. And then, so I walked in the Oval and, I know what this is. They're going to hotbox the speaker on Ukraine funding. That's what it was. This is probably third week of January. We sit down, we're in the midst of it, and the whole conversation, and I'm going, we don't need to have this conversation. The president reaches over just like this. We're sitting right next to the fireplace in the Oval, and he grabs my arm and he says, the speaker and I just need a couple minutes together. Will y'all just leave us alone? And I looked up on the faces of some of the staff standing around the wall, and they're like, oh, no, he did it. So he called it. He's the commander in chief. So everybody leaves. He and I are standing awkwardly in the middle of the Oval Office, right over the rug by that coffee table. And I said, Mr. President, thanks for the moments. This is very important. I got some big national security things I need to talk to you about that I've heard, and I think and what do we do? But first, real quickly, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? I cannot answer this from my constituents in Louisiana. Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? Like, I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order, 3 weeks ago. He goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. I said, Mr. President, respectfully, could I go out here and ask your secretary to print it out? We'll read it together. You definitely did that. And he goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. I said, no, you're not, sir. You paused it. I know. I have the export terminals in my state. I talked to those people this morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy, national security. It occurred to me, Barry, he was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
I saw that clip. There's a couple other clips from that interview, but that sums it up. And John, did you know that if you're drunk and you say, I'm going to buy this house, and your realtor puts the contract in front of you and you sign it, it's actually not a valid contract because you were not in your right state of mind. You were drunk. It's not a valid contract.
Yep.
Now, what happens if you sign documents and you're like, where am I supposed to sign? Are you going to fill this in later? this date part here and the rest of the, and as Mike Johnson points out, clearly had no idea what he was doing. How many of those executive orders stand? You got to challenge this.
Like I said, we dodged a bullet. First of all, that more damage wasn't done, and plenty was. I get it. Plenty of damage was done. But if you think for a second that Kamala would have been any better, I'm sorry. I would have taken Joe over Kamala, and I know that's saying quite a bunch, but
no, she is definitely by far the most. She was the most radical senator. She is by far way off the rails, way out there.
And she's not smart. She's not smart.
And she's not smart. In his last few days of office, he's literally gone on a spending spree. John, he spent so much money, they hit the spending cap. So Trump starts office, he's out of money. Like right away, he doesn't have any money to spend. They've already hit the spending cap. Talk about a peaceful transfer of power. You mean you'll face to face, you'll smile and shake hands. But meanwhile, what you've done is you've handed a big pile of steaming poo, and you said, I've done everything I can to keep you from actually running the country successfully.
I believe that you will find a new paradigm shortly. Let's just leave it at that without getting too deep in the woods. I think you're going to find a new paradigm. I'd like to, we're getting close to the end. I want to talk about tomorrow. We're going to go on the air about, let's see. Oh, I think it's going to be about 8:30 your time, David. 8:30 Pacific. That would be 9:30 Pacific for 9:30 Montana time or Mountain time. The inaugural starts at let's see, 9 o'clock your time.
Right.
So 9 o'clock Pacific. So we're going to get on just a little bit about a half hour early. We'll talk about things. We'll watch as they're setting things up. We'll watch the crowd form. The plan is that we're going to go as long as it makes sense to go. I don't think we're going to go all the way into the balls of the evening. I don't think we need to watch the inaugural ball. But if people call for it, if they demand it, and if we got 50,000 people watching, then we will definitely stream it. But the plan is come on at 8:30, go through the full inaugural. There's going to be the signing ceremonies in the signing room, which that could take a while too, and I'm okay as long as it takes, right? Then there's going to be the parade. I want to see the parade, and I really want to see when when a boot gets put in the backside of Joe and the doctor.
Speaking of Jill, she and the Pelosi family are having it out right now. Sorry. Little Pelosi is smack talking Joe Biden, and it's actually I shouldn't laugh because it's not. But
well, no.
You know what? That's what happens. They eat their own.
Donald Trump said, "When this is all over, the Democrat Party will be no more," and they're starting to eat their own right now. And so, I think I want to hear. I want to play a little bit more from Kid Rock. We'll come back, wrap it up, and then.
Can I play Megyn Kelly before you go to Kid Rock?
Oh, please do.
Okay. I mean, this one.
She's your favorite. I know.
Well, listen, there were a lot. I have a lot of favorite moments, but this one I was like, oh yes. There were a lot of great speakers today, but I thought this was just awesome.
Okay, speaking of J-Lo, how happy are you that her candidate lost? It's so delightful. These Hollywood celebrities who get up there and try to tell us how to vote, really? I mean, like those celebrities who know nothing about anything. All J-Lo knows about what to do is to ruin marriages. She's an expert at that. Why does she have to try to ruin the country too? So goodbye, J-Lo. It didn't work out for you.
Woo.
Goodbye, Meryl Streep, who showed up at that Oprah event saying, "Oh, Madam President," to Kamala Harris. Madam President. How'd that work out? About as well as her comment that Harvey Weinstein was God. And maybe we should stop listening to her. Maybe we shouldn't be going to her for our political advice. And then you had Oprah herself. Oprah, she'll interview you if you pay her $1 million too. Yeah, it's a low fee of $1 million to sit down with Oprah Winfrey, apparently. That's what the Harris campaign paid her production company, she says. And for that, you know what you get? You get Oprah yelling at you. Kamala Harris. Why are you doing that? Calm down, madam. Didn't work out for her either. But of course, the fakest person involved on that side of the aisle was the woman at the top, Kamala Harris herself. Thank you. Who pretended that she wasn't the border czar, who pretended that she was middle class, who pretended that she was smart. And the American people did not buy it. Every time you turned around, this woman was doing something faker than the last, right? Her like fake Jamaican accent, her fake Eastern European accent, her fake Spanish accent. It was like spending a day at Joe Biden's southern border. Nonstop, right? We gonna win. It's not how it went, right? But my favorite was the preacher accent. Joy cometh in the morning. She wasn't wrong about that. It came at about 1:22 a.m. on election night when the election was called for Donald J. Trump.
All right.
Amen.
There were so many great clips today, so many. But this one, she's just so right on.
Yeah, it's funny because people are asking why did Trump do a rally today? I think Trump really likes the rallies, but I think it was a thank you. I think this was a thank you and a calm before the storm, if you will. It was a feel good. I think that he talked about a lot of the things that are going to happen. The one thing that Bannon was talking about earlier was it was really interesting to watch how different the confirmation hearings went, and there was some ugly comments about things and some people being really rude and disrespectful, but at the end of the day, these people are going to get through. I have not seen anything happen yet that would make me believe that Trump's picks were not going to get through. I do have one piece of breaking news, and that is Vivek Ramaswamy is out at Doge. They've pretty much had enough of him taking a lot of glory and not doing any heavy lifting. So Vivek Ramaswamy he was about as long as Scaramucci was. So
that's too bad. I am disappointed. I will have to go and spend a couple minutes on that afterwards. He just on the thank you part of the victory tour. I agree. Scott Pressler, how many times did his name get mentioned? How many times did one of the speakers look down and thank him personally?
Yep.
Or acknowledge him? I mean, over and over again. And you think about how instrumental he was out there campaigning, knocking on doors. It's incredible. And I agree with you that was definitely one of the positive outcomes of this whole thing. Is it was a big thank you.
And Laura Trump, she did an amazing job too. So
agree.
All right, let's have a little bit more from our buddy Kid, or Bob, as Donald calls him. I hope this is queued up right. If it doesn't, forgive me, and we'll make it right.
Ones who earn their stripes, fighting for every damn color behind the flag. So I don't care what you call what we've got tonight. A concert, a show, a gig. I don't give a shit. Because what I believe we've got here is a get-together. We're proving that the only party that really matters is the one we're having tonight. And it's been brought to you by those who fought for the home of the brave, thousands of miles from theirs. Here's a salute to those who aren't looking for a hand, to standing at attention for those who deserve all of ours. Here's to a program that was born free and brought to you by the United States of motherfucking America.
Midnight riding in my old two-seater, rolling down the boulevard. Headlights shining on rusty fences as I pass the rail yard. Black leather jacket on a Friday night, fire up the lighter and a lucky strike. Radio saying take a walk on a wild side. It has got me feeling like got me feeling like and go wide open, it's a pedal down kind of theme. A little bit of Motown smooth, a little Memphis blues, a sweet emotion that's raining all over me. Give me that heart, give me that soul, give me that heart, give me that soul. American rock and roll. I can see the banner on the courthouse flying, proud red, white, and blue. I can see her waving on the corner smiling, cause it feels just like I do. Now she's sitting right next to me. Everything's how it ought to be. Being young in the land of the free. Yeah, she's got me feeling like she got me feeling like and go wide open, it's a pedal down kind of theme. A little bit of fun, some blues, a little gangster smooth, a sweet emotion that's raining all over me. Give me that heart, give me that soul, give me that heart, give me that soul. 3, 4. American rock and roll. Oh, American rock and roll. And go right open, it's a pedal down kind of thing. A little bit of Delta blues, a little blue suede shoes, a sweet emotion raining all over me. Give me that heart, give me that soul. American rock and
All right, this is part of the song where our audio started getting jacked, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it down here. But man, oh man, what a good event that was, and Kid Rock, he did not disappoint.
Kid Rock, as somebody said earlier, Kid Rock rocks.
Kid rocks.
And that song, I mean, that has been, I mean, it's part of the our closing, segment for the last several weeks, right? It's that the last campaign ad that we decided to use, and that song really pulls it together. And I love that he played it.
Yep, me too. Hey, do me a favor. It's on the crawl at the bottom of the screen, but if you would, please hit that thumbs up. And if you're not a follower of the channel, please consider following the channel. Also, send us your email address so you can get your own Arrest Bingo card and you can play along with us with a chance to win some Just Our Take swag. And you got to get it in quickly because I think arrests are coming soon. What do you think, Dave?
I hope arrests are coming soon. By the way, I was messaged privately asking about Tom Hanks.
He's on the list.
I know.
He's on the list because he was a frequent flyer, he and Rita Wilson Hanks, of the Epstein Island.
Yeah. Do you remember when they were quarantined, like a required quarantine? I think they were in Australia, like couldn't
or
leave.
New Zealand, one of the two. Yeah.
New Zealand, or maybe it was New Zealand, and they had the ankle bracelets,
Yep.
and they weren't allowed to leave. COVID, I think it was COVID, which is why they had the
It
ankle.
was a COVID ankle bracelet. It monitored their every sweat little pustules. Yeah, there's going to be a lot coming. Anyway, look, guys, we are going to cut out because we got a big, long, arduous show tomorrow with special guests. By the way, I do believe we've got some phone friends coming in. I think that we're going to get a call from producer Marie at some point. We got a call from our buddy Mike in California. Mike's always fun. He has got some choice words, and can't wait to hear from Mike tomorrow. On our inset or in the studio, we've got our buddy L, who's been on the show a few times lately. And then, of course, your hosts, David and I, will be here as well. So what do you think, Dave? Ready to wrap this one?
I am ready to wrap it.
It's not often
I'm
we do
ready.
2 shows in a day, but we did, and that's just a precursor for tomorrow's marathon show.
That's right. That's right.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. We love you. We ask that you continue to pray for a smooth transition tomorrow, for the safety of all people involved, the spectators, the participants, and everybody. Hope you guys have a fantastic evening, and we will see you tomorrow morning as we open up with the... Oh, Mrs. John is staying home. That's right. That's right, Roots Girl. Mrs. John is, we talked about that last week. Mrs. John took the day off so she can stay home with me tomorrow and help support and I think celebrate as well. So anyway, celebrate with us tomorrow as we bring in the 47th President of the United States of America. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Have a great night.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
American rock and roll.